Hello, Feuzion. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Fusion News, and we have another big guest for you on tonight's episode. But before I introduce my next guest, if you are not a subscriber of Fusion News, be sure to hit the subscribe button to enter in for a chance to win 2 free New York Yankee regular season tickets. When we hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be giving away those 2 free New York Yankee tickets, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, without further ado, she won America's Got Talent the first season. Bianca Ryan, she also just appeared on America's Got Talent, The Champions. So, Bianca, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. It's great to finally get the chance to talk with you over the phone. So, walk me through what was the process like? When was the first time you heard or got the phone call that they asked you to appear on America's Got Talent, The Champions?
Oh my goodness. So I actually found out about it, I think it was during the summer of last year, when they were putting together the show, and they kind of said, hey, we're putting together this AGT champion show, and it's basically going to have viral acts and some winners from all over the world. Would you want to be part of it? And to be honest, I had been going through a lot at this point. I was still only about a year and a half into recovery for my vocal surgeries. So I was pretty nervous about it. I didn't know if I wanted to be on national TV yet, and if I was ready. But there was just like something inside of me that was just like, it's now or never. I've been going through this struggle for years and years since I was, 11, 12, 13, when I kind of started first realizing my vocal issues. And I was like, you know what? I'm healed now. I feel better than ever. And I'm just going to go for it. I just want to start having fun, and I just want to start living my life again. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I was extremely nervous, but I was also really excited to kind of get a new start again with singing.
Now, you sounded amazing, by the way, and that song that you picked was perfect. It was spot on, and I just have to say, so you hear the news that you need to have some type of vocal surgery. So we talk about, we just talked about when you heard the news to be asked back on national television to perform on America's Got Talent. What was your reaction when you heard the news that, or had the option to do the vocal surgery to help repair your vocal cords?
That was actually really tough. It was a really, really dark time for me. I had been singing, since I was young, and I went on America's Got Talent, and I won it at only 11 years old. So to have something so amazing happen at such a young age and then have it all kind of just fall apart was really hard. And throughout the next couple of years, I was touring, and I felt like every show I was just like, why isn't my voice just not working with me? It just, something doesn't seem right. I'm trying so hard. I had to practice so much just to get, these notes to come out, and it was a struggle. And I blamed myself for years. I just thought, I lost my talent. Maybe this isn't, what I'm meant to do. I don't know. I just thought maybe it was a sign. And after years and years of blaming myself, when I was an older teen, kind of going into my 20s, is when I went into an ENT, and I found out that my vocal cord was, one of them was paralyzed. So I had to get a vocal surgery to kind of get that fixed. And it was definitely extremely nerve-wracking, but at the time I felt like I really didn't have much to lose, considering my situation for, 7, 8 years before that. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go through with it. Either way, I was, on the verge of quitting, just because I couldn't deal with the stress of it anymore, and worrying about my voice and it not working and cooperating with me. So it was extremely nerve-wracking to go into a vocal surgery. But at that point, I really didn't. Like I said, I had not much to lose, considering what I had been going through and all the bullying through school and high school, and all the, people that were kind of just fading away and the fans fading away. I felt like I didn't have much to lose. It was actually harder going into my second vocal surgery a year and a half later, unfortunately, because I went in for a checkup for a cold, and I had blood vessels on my vocal cords. And that's something that happens genetically, apparently, and it kind of runs in my family. So, of course, they end up on my vocal cords because I just have the worst luck ever. And I felt like it was a little harder that time to go in and say yes to a surgery, because at that point I did feel like I had something to lose. I was already a year and a half in recovery, and I felt like, I was getting back on my feet again. So the second time around was definitely a lot harder than the first.
In between those two vocal surgeries, were you singing during that time?
I did. Between those vocal surgeries is actually when I recorded Alice. And my single Alice, which was actually really hard to get through in the studio. I remember kind of having to find different ways to sing the notes. And when I was even performing shows then, I wasn't performing very often. When I would do a show, I'd only be able to sing about 2 to 3 songs before I would lose my voice. So it was very hard kind of booking gigs and everything back then too, because people would want a full set, but my voice would only make it about 2 to 3 songs and still not be my best. So I was performing in between then, about, not right after, but about a couple months before my second surgery. I found out about that was when I started performing again. So that's when I was like, oh man, now I feel like I have something to lose. And I had to cancel. I had to cancel quite a few dates and a lot of tours and a lot of traveling for the second surgery.
So once you completed the second surgery, when was your first time you sung after that?
My first time singing after that was probably maybe mid 2017. And a couple months later, I was called in for a Broadway show. And if you guys know Broadway, I mean, Broadway's 8 shows a week. And I was extremely hesitant to do it, but I figured if I could take like a huge step, that every step after that would just be so much easier and I wouldn't be as afraid. So actually, only a year out of vocal surgery, I was starring on Broadway for 2 months in New York City. And it was an amazing experience, but it definitely taught me a lot. And I learned my way around my voice. And I feel like that's kind of the reason why I might have recovered a little bit quickly, because I was on such a regimented schedule. Mm-hmm. And then shortly after that is when, into 2018 is when AGT Champions reached out. And that's a little bit more scary, because when you're performing in front of a live audience, once they're gone, the show is over. I mean, there's no more, you messed up, you made mistakes. It's like, oh, whatever, you have another show tomorrow. But with, reality TV and national TV, it's like, that's it. And millions of people are going to see that and replay that video 100 times. So I was definitely way more nervous for that.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because in Broadway, if you make a mistake, if you're a good actress, you could say, oh, it was just part of the show. Yeah. So, but you don't have that opportunity on live TV. So yeah, I give you a lot of credit, just, getting out of your comfort zone for the most part. And you have to have been hesitant, like you said, to appear, either on Broadway or on America's Got Talent, because of just your talent in general, of getting the opportunity to do this, Yeah,
it was definitely a hard decision for me. I didn't know if it was going to be the right one in the
Mm-hmm.
end, but there was something inside of me that said that I just can't, no matter what ends up happening, I just don't want to be afraid anymore. I was afraid for years and years and years of my life. And I hid in the shadows. I didn't try out for the lead roles in school plays or anything. I was, my confidence was completely gone. Like, I felt like I was, humbled times a million, after winning America's Got Talent the first season. It's extremely hard to even go from that to like not even wanting to try out for a school play, because I was so embarrassed and I felt like I lost everything. So it took a lot of courage inside of me, and a lot of nights just like taking time to even just sit and just think for an hour and just say, I can do this, I'm going to say yes. And it did take me a couple weeks to respond to the champions, but I'm happy that I did do it. And I think I really, really went over a huge bridge of fear. And I feel like I'm a completely different person now.
Now, you talk about being bullied throughout, middle school and high school. What would be your advice to someone that may be getting bullied either in elementary school, middle school, or high school, that they want to pursue something similar to what you're doing? What would be your advice to them?
Well, I mean, I know how hard it can be, especially with this new age of like social media. Honestly, social media wasn't even that huge. Instagram wasn't like a huge thing either when I was in high school. That kind of actually started afterwards. So I can't even imagine what some people, what a lot of the young teenagers go through now. But what I can tell you is that literally none of that will matter in a couple of years. Those are transitional years for people and for young teens. And if you can just if you can get through that, you know, it's going to be a breeze after that, and none of it's going to matter. And you don't want that to weigh you down. So just always, you know, stay true to yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't be embarrassed. You know, I know a lot of kids want to sing. This is just from my experience. I know a lot of kids who want to sing and play music and play guitar, and they want to post their like covers on Instagram, how people do, but they're like, I just don't want my classmates to see it. And honestly, it doesn't even matter, because those people are going to be wishing that they were posting those videos, you know, years later, or that they got started on trying to pursue their career and pursue their dreams, you know, on YouTube or social media. They're going to wish that they had that courage, because that does take courage. And no matter whether they bully you or not for it, in the end, 10 years down the road, they're going to say, wow, you know, that kid had guts. Like, you know, she was posting on YouTube, you know, at 14, 15 years old, and didn't care about any crazy comments that, you know, are going to come your way. And she was just bold and was herself. And now look, now she's, you know, 20, 18 in college or whatever, and she's already built this whole platform for herself. So do not care about the bullying. Stay true to you, stay strong, because none of it, I mean, I promise you, none of it's going to matter at all in the future.
So Bianca, you sung "Say Something" by A Great Big World and Christina Aguilera on America's Got Talent, The Champions. How did you choose that one song?
It was a very, very, very hard choice to pick a song for AGT Champions, especially because I hadn't been on AGT Champions for 12 years. So I had to choose a song, and then we had to cut it to 2 minutes, and then I have to tell a 12-year story, an emotional concept in just 2 minutes of time, which is extremely hard to do. And I knew it just had to be perfect. I worked really, really, really hard on the song, hours a day, just trying to get it perfect and get every run and get my message just totally told emotionally through every single word and nuance in the song. And for me, Say Something was just the perfect message. And I know a lot of people, I've been saying this, a lot of people have been asking me what my message was in the song. And a lot of people Say Something in reference to a relationship. But for me, I actually sang that song towards the music industry. So, you know, Say Something, I'm giving up on you. I felt like, you know, for years, I felt like every door was just closed and not open. And I was just like, just give me a sign just give me a sign, one open door that shows me that this is what I'm meant to do and this is what I'm supposed to do. And it took me a while to find that positivity in music and in singing, especially with all the health problems I went through. But I'm finally starting to see that light again. And realize that this was it the whole time. I just had to wait. And now everything comes in each individual's perfect timing. And I felt like it really was perfect timing, because if AGT Champions happened, 2 years ago or last year, I wouldn't have been able to do it, and I would have said no, and I would have been in a way worse place. So I feel like everything does happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I'm finally finding the message and the meaning of my whole journey throughout all of this.
It's amazing. And before we wrap up this interview, you have some other projects coming up in the future, and you also have your own makeup line. So yes. How did you start your makeup line for yourself?
Well, I told you that this year was the year I told myself I don't want to be afraid anymore of anything, and I want to follow all my dreams and all my passions that I was so afraid to do for years, and that I didn't do because I had zero confidence, before last year. And so this year I told myself, you know what, I'm going to follow all of my dreams. I'm going to say yes to so many things I would have said no to, such as even AGT Champions. I've wanted to start a cosmetic line since I was like 14 years old. I was always, I was a young teenager, always experimenting, mixing oils, glitters, pigments. I was ordering, different colored micas and pigments from, even Amazon, and just doing this in my basement when I was, 13, 14 years old. So I just never had the courage to do it until this year. And this year I was like, I'm doing it. So I got some pigments together. I set up my workstation in my house. I got all the colors together. I got a factory, and I was like, you know what? I'm doing it. So I opened up my cosmetic line. We're starting right now with 23 shades. And I'm working currently on a highlighter palette and the eyeshadow palette for it. So I'm really happy to finally just not be afraid anymore, and to be just following all these dreams that I've had for years, but just never went through with it. And it just feels really good, especially getting all the new music together. Now I have like an EP on Spotify. We have new music videos coming. I just launched a Kickstarter to help fund, part 2, and marketing for that. And so I feel like I'm just really on a roll, and it feels so good to just not be afraid.
Well, Bianca, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me on Feuzion News tonight. And
thank you.
Of course. And, you're so talented, and, I love your performance on America's Got Talent, The Champions, and I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to talk to you very soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, Fuse Nation, just heard it from Bianca Ryan. She was the first winner of America's Got Talent and just performed on America's Got Talent, The Champions, where you can catch that on Monday nights on NBC. Once again, Fuse Nation, thank you again for listening. And be sure to hit the subscribe button to enter in for a chance for free New York Yankees season ticket. Not season tickets, regular season tickets. There we go. Have a great rest of your night, and I will be seeing you very soon. Thanks for listening.